There is emerging on the face of the earth a new human, an infinite human, and that infinite human is you. Join Elizabeth Monroy weekly for enlightening discussions, multidimensional journeys, profound meditations, and empowering visualizations as we co-create the new consciousness renaissance together with other blossoming infinite human beings who are shifting the old paradigms of our broken, fragmented, finite 3D Earth and alchemizing it into a more expansive, unified, loving, infinite reality by reclaiming their true divine infinite power within as the co-creators of the new infinite Earth. Join us weekly for the Infinite Human Talk Show.
Hello, and welcome to the Infinite Human Talk Show. I'm your host, Elizabeth Monroy, and I have some amazing information that I'm downloading today. And of course, don't worry when you're hearing this. You may be hearing this, when I'm broadcasting it live. You may be hearing it a month from now, 10 years from now, 1,000 years from now. And it is relative to you wherever you're at, because we're all on this beautiful, heroic journey, returning home to our true divine, infinite, heroic selves. And everyone is moving at their own speed, their own pace, some taking detours, some beelining it because they can't wait to get home. So it's a journey. And today we're going to talk about that journey. We're going to talk about being an infinite human being. When I say being, I mean not an infinite human doing, but an infinite human being. So this is, a topic near and dear to my heart. And when I wrote, and Peter, my twin soul, when we wrote The Infinite Human, which I actually have here. Okay. This was, I think it's a very timely book. It's a very powerful book. And when I say timely, divine timely, because there is no time. So whenever you feel called to, if you feel called to open it, to borrow it, to buy it, to, whatever you need to, I think it's going to connect a lot of the dots of what has been going on this planet. And I think that's really vital. I'm talking about that because we're moving on to the next thing. But you really need to understand the dualistic nature of our 3D reality. You need to understand the true hidden history of what's happening and happened to us. And it really it explains so much, especially of the frequency wars that have been going on and that have come out into the open in what I call the roaring 20s, in these past 5 years that began with the whole scandemic, the lockdown, the COVID, etc. And so it caused a lot of people to question, to wonder what is going on. This just doesn't feel right. There's something more to this. So this explains it, and I think you have to understand the darkness, the parasitic influences, the dark hand that has controlled our reality for a very long time. Because if you don't, and I've seen a lot of people who have a lot of wonderful energy. In fact, I write about my story. We're born into this world. We have so many things we want to give. And then we end up getting, reaching dead ends and getting co-opted with all our good intentions. And this explains why. And this helps you to realize that you really can't fix a broken earth, and that's not what our focus is now. And I had some people on here, a gal who just was clueless as to what was really going on, and she was taking all her good intentions and trying to break in and be part of the fallen crowd. So it's very freeing, because you need to be really wise right now with your precious energy, and you're such a precious soul. You've come here with such beautiful, beautiful gifts. And one of my, last little videos I had on my YouTube channel was asking people what was the precious, unique gift that only you have and that you brought when you incarnated on this planet to gift to humanity and to co-create a new earth. So we're going to be talking about that. But the first step is to really begin to embrace your infiniteness. And again, you have to understand it's a process, and it's a foundation, it's a journey. The first step is to understand the dark and the light, because it does exist. You can't spiritual bypass that. You also have to face the darkness and purge, release, heal those lower frequencies. Okay. The good news is we are getting so much help nowadays. And so I talk about now, but you may be hearing this in the future. But my God, the energy is just off the charts. Even the 3D scientists can't ignore it anymore. I mean, they're reporting holes, faces, smiley faces in the corona of our sun that is giving mass plasma ejaculations, let's say. And the earth, the Schumann resonance, which is, the heartbeat of our planet, and which is something that is measurable, is gone off the charts. They've never seen this kind of immense energy ever, so it's obvious that there's something really, really amazing and powerful going on. And anyone, I think, even people who are just, wanting to stay stuck in the old worlds, are realizing that everything around us, the world is crumbling. The financial institutions are crumbling, that religious institutions are crumbling, the political institutions are crumbling, education, everything is crumbling. And for those that are trying to hold on to that, it's like holding on to the Titanic. I mean, it's going down. And then, of course, the solution is to go into this artificial intelligence, and I've talked a lot about that. I won't bring that up, but that is where they're pushing people, which is even further away from what is really happening. And what is really happening is beautiful, beautiful, amazing time in the history. I always say history, like the male false timelines that have been created to keep us in a time loop. So the true history, which is our story, our history, we are now rewriting it. We're rewriting it back into alignment with God. Okay. I have no problem using that word. God really means just to invoke, but I say God, or infinite God source, because, to get really specific, infinite source of all, the divine aspect of all creation. So we are now recalibrating to that. And I think, I mean, I don't think one person listening to me would disagree that our planet is not totally screwed up. In fact, when I used to do my esoteric tours, I would have people from all over the world, Russia, China, US, all right there. We'd meet in front of the statue of Dante in Florence. And I'd say, just one question: what do you think of the state of the planet? So that's one thing we all agree on. Now, we all might have different opinions, but we all know that this earth, 3D earth, I'll call it, the earth that we look outside of ourselves, we see in the physical right now, is just, it's not supposed to be this way. And I think we all feel it in our hearts. We're not supposed to have wars. We're not supposed to have violence. We're not supposed to have violence to children. We're not supposed to have, misogynistic treatment of women. We're not supposed to be filled with greed and, thinking only of our own personal gain. That's just not our true human divine nature. That's not inherent within our makeup. Okay. And now there's a longing, so many of us, and now there are waves. And those of us who are really tuning into like the Schumann residency, into the frequencies that are coming into the planet right now, the codes that are coming through our sun, we are part of the first wave. So most likely, if you're hearing this, you are part of this first wave, and you're becoming very sensitive. You're becoming very attuned to all this energy that's pouring into our planet, to nature, to our earth, to our mother earth that's ascending, to the codes that are pouring through our suns. And I talk a lot about this. And Again, if you're confused, the Infinite Human connects all the dots, and I have on my website, infinitehuman.com, lots of blogs and other talk shows that go into more detail about this. But the good news is, even though it looks, it's like the best of times, it is the worst of times. And I know it's very challenging. One, people are looking around and all the stability is completely leaving. I mean, you're wondering, where do I put my money? In the bank accounts, and of course everyone has a solution for that. So, I'm not giving you a solution, but where do I put my money? What's my future of my job? Where do I live? Is the power going to go out? Is my bank going to fold? What about my health? The healthcare system, it's not, is it going to provide what I need? And of course, a lot of us are going through all kinds of shifting in our bodies. So we're experiencing all kinds of, and it's a good thing. And I'm an internal optimist. I just want to, make you aware of that. But it is a good thing. And I'm not saying that just talking, out my arse. I've been going through it too. And it's very difficult. But the end result is to purge, eliminate, and cleanse yourself of all these lower frequencies, of these underlining viruses. Let's just say reversals. But you could call them all sorts of things. You can call them, black flowering, encryptions, reverse codes, all kinds of overlays that have kept us finite, which has kept us with a genome that self-destructs, which causes death, decay, and aging as your life goes on. That's not something that's natural. So we're returning to our true divine, infinite, Christic, angelic nature, which is to be in the body of Christ. And I tell my Catholic friends, it's not a host that you eat, it's not, some satanic ritual where you drink the blood and eat the body of a physical person. It is you. It is your 12-stranded DNA. It is a divine blueprint. It is a blueprint that was never supposed to age and decay. It was a blueprint that had a beeline to infinite God source, to God. So it made you God, literally incarnate. Okay, so now that is a powerful statement. And I think one of the biggest points, I'm going to just make it right now about being infinite, that I think a lot of people, when they get on the ascension path, especially me, when I first signed up, this lifetime, like 40 years ago, I thought, this is great. I'm going to transmute my body. I'm going to be young and beautiful. And, everyone I love is going to live forever with me and everything will be perfect. Well, guess what? The beautiful thing is that you can remember that you are one with infinite God source and all that is. It's the oneness, the law of one, the oneness of all things. And that oneness is love, it's intelligence, it's beauty, it's service to others, because the others are you. So it's really service to yourself. It's the opposite of the cult that we've been living in, which is a death cult, which is a decaying parasitic cult where you live off of others and you place yourself above them. Okay. And that's not the way it is. It's not the way it was ever meant to be. But the reason we have this parasitic fallen angelic cult is because they chose to fall. And what does that mean? They chose to only access 11.5 strands of their DNA, which means that last part of connecting to 12 strands that plugs you directly into the power, the energy, the beautiful surging, love, and boundless power, of infinite source. They chose not to do that. But why? There's a reason. Because when you truly are infinite, okay, and this is, read this, remember this, carve this into your mind, because it's sometimes it's very difficult for us, especially when we've gotten so used to living in 3D and we think this is all there is, the material, the physical. But truly being infinite is completely surrendering your will to infinite God source, the oneness of all things. Now, so many people are terrified of that because you think, oh no, you're surrendering yourself, like, God the Father Almighty, you have to do his will, because we've been usurped. We've had a false, tyrannical, narcissistic, psychopathic God who's been pretending to be God. But the truth is, infinite God source always, always, always has your benefit. It's always true love. And even though sometimes the lessons are difficult, actually, infinite God source is you. So there really is no division. It seems like it's not you because we've been taught God's outside of ourselves. God's something we have to make atonement to, and atonement means at one minute. It's something we have to surrender to. It's something we have to obey, and that is further from the truth. It's really just trusting that part of yourself because you are infinite. You're infinite God source. And that's why, hence the name Infinite Human, though, which came to me, was given to me about 40 years ago now, because you're infinite, multidimensional, vast. There's no limitations to you. But you also have the beautiful gift of having form, okay? A form. There's a form to this. Now, the true form, the Christic form, is the divine blueprint is much more luminescent, much more powerful. Manifestation happens, right away. It's you don't eat, you don't poop. Your breatharians and you have wings, you fly. I mean, it's a very different experience, which we are returning to. We are slowly returning to that, which is why we feel such pressure right now, because the frequencies we are at are very low and we're getting inundated with very, very powerful, very high frequencies right now. So we're making this huge jump, this amazing quantum leap, and it's very taxing on our carbon bodies because they're being asked to upgrade rapidly. So, but the beauty about that is that you still are human, okay? Human in the sense of you are unique. You're one of a kind. There's no one else like you alive. No one else. And you came here with a purpose, with a reason, with gifts, with talents, with wonderful things to share with others that nobody else has. No one else has what you have. So your task, which is really exciting, is to strip away the masks of who you've been programmed to pretend to be, these finite, very finite, I guess, labels, perhaps masks, characters that you've been playing. I'm a mother, I'm a teacher, I'm a doctor, I'm a lawyer. Those are aspects of you, but they're not you. They're finite expressions of you as an infinite being the infinite, that is knowing itself, because that's what manifestation, that's what creation is all about, the infinite learning about itself. So it creates the illusion of time. And when you enter the time matrix, you buy the ticket and you agree to participate in this beautiful story of time with beginning, middle, and end. And you learn, you grow, you change, you get to shift things, but you are the author. You hold the pen of your life story. And that's the beauty. You're an infinite creator. You can create it and write it and do it any way you want. So then people say, well, what, Elizabeth, why? Why am I having, if people do that, someone asked me the night, why do they die in war? Why am I so miserable? Why am I poor? Why am I sick? Why am I this? Why am I that? Well, you have chosen also at some level to participate in this time matrix that has been hacked into. And there's been mind control programs that have been subtly running under your divine software. Okay, so it's almost like this virus, this artificial AI hack. Everyone's using that word now, so I'll say hack. I don't even know what it means for sure, but it hacked into your divine blueprint, your divine software, your power, and it subtly usurped it. It's like someone who's been hypnotized, and you wake up and you feel great, and you look in the mirror and you say, God, this is so exciting. I can't wait to blah, 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 blah. And then something, just subtly says, oh, you can't do that. Oh, no, you better not do that, with fear and all kinds of other powerful poisons that have been injected into your holographic template. So that's been going on for a long time. And finally, something has been done because the infinite said, okay, that was interesting. You got to play that game for a very long time, roughly speaking, 260 billion years. And now everything is being corrected. That is the beautiful beauty of it all. This whole time matrix that we've been in is being corrected. And I've said this many times. Now, a lot of stuff I'm referring to is in Speaker 1 has talked about, and Speaker 2 and Speaker 3, and speakers throughout the eons have appeared to talk about this information, because so much of it was, when it was written down and hidden in sacred texts, we're talking about the Dead Sea Scrolls, we're talking about, the, Book of Enoch, we're talking, and even other things that still are under the Vatican. So much of this information has been hidden because they don't want you to know how powerful you are. They don't want you to know what happened, because the point is to keep you asleep in the dream, so you're not lucid, so you can't take back the pen and take back the control of your life and the story, and write the story the way you want it, so that everything has been shifted and hidden, which is now all changing, because we've been held prison not only in a time matrix of artificial time loop, but we've been held prisoner also in low frequencies, and these low frequencies have kept us asleep at the wheel. And somebody else has been driving the car. So this is the time when the infinite said, okay, enough's enough. You've usurped the will of the Christic, angelic beings who have served as guardians of this time matrix, and they no longer want to do it. So we're going to bring in, through eternal internal creation, vast amounts of energy that is just going to upgrade everything and restore it to its proper place, proper dimensions, and proper frequency. And that's what we're in the middle of. Our whole earth is being, restored very fast, very fast. It's like being in an elevator and you're going to the 100th floor, like really fast. And your body is being restored very fast, and many of us have contracted to be the first. So this is why, okay, this is why you're experiencing, I've talked to you, and I know a lot of anxiety, and I talked about myself. I'm experiencing anxiety like I have never experienced before. And then you might be anxious, and you might be tired, a lot of teeth problems, because it's a lot of emotional stuff coming through. I could go on and on. A lot of headaches, a lot of things are coming out of your body, a lot of pain. I've talked to people who, you name it, they have it, whether it's cancer, that's, a lot of that is coming out, all kinds of shingles and viruses and, eczema and everything, because it has to come out, right? It has to get out of you. You can't ascend with these things that have been hiding and lodged in your body for a very long time. So it's not comfy, cozy. It is trying. So I'm here to say, hang on. All I can do, because there's no saviors. There's no one that's going to save you. It's all an inside job. It's all about you, but we can be there for each other. We can be supportive of each other. I find that when I hear that other people are having, say, a lot of anxiety, it makes me feel better. I just looked at the Schumann resonances, today, and someone was saying it's like off the wall. So that made me feel a lot better because I was like, am I going crazy? Again, my anxiety is back. And, of course, we're going to be feeling all these things because this has never before happened in a time matrix. I mean, many of us are what we call Adashi adepts. We've been through the cycles before, and we're ascending, but nothing that has happened so rapidly. I mean, we're ascending so fast, and many of us are maintaining our physical vehicles because we have jobs to do here for now. So, and I notice also on the 3D level, there's a lot of, this group knows what's right and this other group knows what's right. And, it happens even within the Christic colonic, sciences. And that's just part of the I think it actually is a good thing that there is such division because it's an inside job. You always have to decide what resonates for you. All right. And some people are encrypted for some types of work, some people are encrypted for others, but everyone has a job here. And you know what? Everyone is going home. They really are. And you might say, oh, wait a minute, even these bad, evil cabal people, even these, whatever you want to call them, the fallen angelics, the fatally, they're all going home eventually. They might take the long route. They might choose to become space dust. But you know what? Everybody returns home. So, really, when you move beyond this duality, you begin to totally embody these higher frequencies. So, a lot of people are like, oh my God, get me out of here. I want to escape. What's the fastest route? I want to go to the nearest Stargate and get out of here and go into the safe places in the time matrix where I can, ascend. And, I hear you. I understand that. I understand that as you see the external world going through all the shit, the shite, let's say, that is going through, just to keep it clean. There are feelings like you want to get out of here. But, all those teachings always say that, infinite God source is within. So it is you within you who are, sorry, I'm having terrible cramps right here, that are with my legs, but is you within you who is ascending. Okay, it's an inside, the whole universe is inside you. And if you want to get up to the higher dimensions, not just 5D. That 5D, I use that too because it's very popular. It's been, documented in the Hopi prophecies and all that. But we're actually going, to the higher dimensions beyond 5D. And but I do think eventually everything will open up. I do believe that the 5D route, Gaia will work itself out. The Earth. It's about when you're thinking evacuation, how to get out. You're really putting a lot of the power outside of you, because if you know that you're holding these frequencies, and the biggest job you have right now, first of all, is to integrate these frequencies, which is not easy. But as you integrate these frequencies, then you actually are in those dimensions. You are in those higher dimensions. So that's the first step, because you are a multidimensional being incarnate here in a transmuting body, a body that is restoring to its Christic blueprint. And you are reconnecting to infinite God source. It's something that is it's not just happening to you. You need to choose to be part of that. And that's what being infinite is. It means that it doesn't mean you totally ignore the 3D earth around you, but it means that you first go inward and find that beautiful, divine, blissful, the God within you, the samadhi that, the ancient Hindus talk about, that beautiful, peaceful oneness with all creation that exists, especially when you can, many of us need to go into meditation at first, and then it grows. It becomes so much a part of you that you are just that. You're walking through the world and you don't have triggers because you are in those higher dimensions. It's the frequency that you resonate at with. So there's no fear. You don't have to escape anything. You don't have to gate out. You don't have to find the way out, because the way out is in. And the more you can hold these higher frequencies, the better. Now, okay, so I'm going to take a little minute here to talk about something. Now, this may be a little bit ahead of a lot of people right now, but I do think everyone's going to understand what I'm saying eventually, and just kind of file it away. But something I'm just on the verge of really not just thinking, but feeling, integrating inside of me, is that as you absorb and become these higher frequencies, first of all, it is a bit unnerving because you have boundless energy. And what do you do with it? It's for me, sometimes it's very anxiety producing. And I've had this happen to me throughout my life, and been terrified of it. So I've actually tried to get rid of it. And sometimes, you need to, just by lowering your frequency, by doing something that lowers your frequency. But I think we're going to become more and more comfortable with really being these higher frequencies. And that's what being infinite is. So you're okay, you're peaceful with holding these frequencies, and they're just run through you. But two, you know what to do with them, because you are a almost like, I guess we say, a lightning rod or something. You're a channel. Your body is an instrument for dispersing properly these frequencies. So you want to learn, and that's part of your journey, your heroic journey, to learn what you need to do with these frequencies. Okay, that's the next step. And I'm coming to that step because, sometimes I just feel so nervous. I'll just talk for myself, that I feel like I can't do anything. I mean, I'm so nervous. I can't focus. I can't do this. I'm too nervous. But I find if I actually focus, then I'm learning how to use and channel that energy. And it's going to be rocky at first, because we're like, been running on, let's say, I think I'm not real good with voltage, but I think here we are in Europe, we have like 220, which is a lot higher than 110. So let's say you've been running on 110 and all of a sudden you have 220 volts, but you want to be really careful where you direct that energy, because many times if your mind's still, monkey mind, worrying about this, worrying about that, you're going to create all those problems and those fears that you've been focusing on, because you're becoming so much more powerful. Yes, you are. As your frequency rises, as you absorb this and a lot of people are out there in the sun and in the nature, and they're just absorbing. And I know when I'm out in the sun, it's like I'm like buzzing afterwards. And that is energy. And where you focus it, you want to be careful, because if you start worrying, I'm myself personally, I'll just talk about myself. I've been a very worried, nervous little budget all my life. I've always been that way. So it's a big challenge, I think, to ground that energy, especially for women. I think women are a little bit more emotional, a little bit more, we've had a lot more trauma in our hidden history, in our other lives, our alternate identities. So that's why it's really important to be clearing this, but also to consciously start really being, and that's what I think mindful means, being mindful of what you're focusing on. So it's a time now to start focusing on what you want as you rise above duality. Okay, you know the bad stuff, and all you have to do now is switch on. It's become, television now is like, social media is become the new television. You turn it on, the whole, and I'm going to get into that. What's Trump doing and the Epstein files, and is this person that? And it's just become gossip. And once you realize how bad and dark and dirty things are, you realize that stop wasting, stop pouring this beautiful, powerful energy that is coming through you into that, into following that, because that's just like dispersing all your energy into problems, and you're feeding problems. So now's the time to really begin to find out who you are and why you're here, and what is your passion, what is your bliss, what, floats your boat, what do you want to do with your life now? Because you know what, you can do anything. You are reconnecting to the power source. So once you really start to connect, I mean, money's not an issue. You blink and your bank account's full. I swear it really does work like that. If you're on track, I'm not talking about, oh, I just want this, because, when you're doing something that's in harmony with your divine purpose, when you're surrendered your will to infinite God source, and it's not just service of self, you're serving, the collective, and you're being the change, you're co-creating a new earth. Whatever you set into motion in your mind manifests. So be aware, be careful, because it will come about. And maybe that's not a good thing. It'll come about in divine timing, but it will come about. So, with that said, you know, know that this is a time when you really need to become aware of your thoughts. And that's what meditation is about. That's what the ancient yogis have taught about, observing your thoughts and being aware of what you're creating, what you're manifesting, because so much of us, our essence has been subconscious, meaning we don't know who's programming our thoughts, and we have been subliminally, hypnotically controlled by shadow creatures, by fatal league entities, by attachments, by the media and programming that's inherited in our DNA, or from our family. So that's why, again, I'll go this once again. Infinite Human is a really good book to look at, because it shows you all the pitfalls of how you can keep being pulled back into the past and create something you don't want to create anymore. So now's the time to embark on this beautiful journey of, first of all, finding out who the heck you are. I mean, everyone's told you who you are. And of course, that's comfortable for us. So we want to find out. We want to go to the doctor. Oh, am I healthy? Am I well? Who am you? Want to go to a therapist? Well, am I sane? Am I crazy? Who am I? You want to go to a spiritual teacher? Well, what should I think? Well, wait, you want to wait for the next activation. You want to wait for the next, uh, whatever truth bomb that's coming out. We're always looking externally, and I understand that's very comforting. It's comfortable, but we have to move beyond that comfort zone, and we have to look and ask and seek inward. And it doesn't mean you're just going to be in a cave somewhere, because what happens is, when you ask, you go out to the 3D world and it appears. If you need money, it's there. I was really needing to just be with a good friend. And it was so strange, because like people who I thought were my friends, they all just like disappeared. And then all of a sudden, one day, just this really beautiful soul who was so much like me. She was, older, traveled all over the world, independent woman. We had so much in common. She spoke English, which was nice, because I've been so tired of speaking Italian all the time. And she just appeared, and she was a good friend. I needed a good friend just for a week. So what I'm saying is it whatever you need will appear if through your connection with God, infinite God source. And I always say, through my connection with infinite God source, all things are possible. And when you surrender, and you serve infinite God source, you serve that. That's your first. I serve you. It serves you. It's a two-way street. I mean, it will be your best friend always, always there. Never ever let you down. And that's what being infinite is. It's really trusting, developing, falling into that beautiful hand of infinite God source that will always be holding you. I'm not saying there's not difficult moments. I mean, one of the most difficult things I had to do was actually lose, in the physical. I never lost him, but because he's here with me, but my twin soul. I mean, that was the what. And the funny thing is, I'd given up so much before that. I'd given up family, friends, home, everything. And I used to turn to Peter and I used to say, and we'd say to each other, "You're the only thing I can't give up," but he did. But you know what? No, because he's still with me and even more because he helps me so much more now because has such a higher perspective. And, I know he's beam steering me and helping me to beam steer you to back home, to the true north, to infinite God source. So everything, even though sometimes you can't, there are those moments when you don't understand why. Why did this horrible, tragic, terrible thing happen? But with time, you begin to understand, and that's why it's very, very important. I think for me, I have to write. I talk about writing, and I began a newsletter that I'll be putting out now shortly with this in it. I said I've kind of been guided to start writing now that I finished The Infinite Human. I wanted to start a new book, a second book called Being Infinite, Being an Infinite Human, Being, Being an Infinite Human, Being, playing with that. And I said I wanted to leave the pages blank. Probably become a bestseller, right? Why? Because then the person that holds it and opens it up realizes, oh my God, I can create anything I want. What a powerful, powerful position I am. I am the author of my own life. I am, the painter of my own blank canvas. I am the director of my own movie. I mean, it is such a powerful time. And, I'm going to go a step further, kind of pushing what the Guardian teachings say, because I think this time is unprecedented. We have always returned through what's been known as the stairway of heaven, kind of in the Adashi return cycle. But now things have all shifted through the whole fail safe. And I feel like we're really, as long, I mean, the only rule is connect and become one with infinite God source. And once you do that, because that's the whole story, returning home is returning to the oneness of infinite God source. And once you do that, you can write your own story the way you want it. Think about that. That was very, very profound what I just said. It may take a few lifetimes, but I hope not. But we are really, those of us who have incarnated now, who are really waking up, who are really embodying these higher frequencies and learning to use our will in conjunction with thy will of infinite God source. So we are one. So we got the power, but it's the power of the oneness, and we are of service to the oneness. We are it's such an exciting time. I mean, anything is possible. And it's going to be really exciting because we just need to have the courage to really walk away from this death cult. We need to have the courage to live out loud. We need to have the courage to do it different. Need to have the courage to disobey and not follow the rules that have kept us down, enslaved and downtrodden. We need to be the example and give people permission, if they needed their own permission slip, really, but just as role models that we're doing it different and follow this path. You don't have to follow that same old beaten, downtrodden path. So said a lot. I hope my words have inspired you, empowered you, and brought you closer to the divine infinite source within you. If you like what I have said, again, the infinite human is on my website. It's also Amazon. I have an audiobook, and I have lots of other really beautiful stories, for children's stories. So I really believe in reading out loud to your children, even in utero, and they're beautiful, beautiful, very powerful spiritual messages. Peter and I have a book called The Pathway Home, which is the guide to inner divine healing. So if you're working with healing, it's very helpful with that. So, I do believe in reading. I don't believe in having artificial intelligence, write your books for you, create your courses for you, think for you, answer your spiritual questions for you, because, it's finite and it's not going to, I mean, if you want that path, that's fine. Eventually you will all paths lead back home. But, I think many of you may find that that's very finite in the long run if you stay with it. I certainly have. I played around with it. I'm already bored. But so with that said, a whole lot of new things are happening for me. I'm so excited. I'm getting all kinds of visions, and this is a really good time during the Lion Gates, this but we're entering in the energy. God, the energy is already off the charts. I just hope I can hold on to my my sanity in my body with all these frequencies. But I'm going to be offering an online course, and I'm going to do it in the physical right now, just to kind of, live every Sunday. Kind of doing like a coaching, answering questions, and then also giving assignments, because it is the hero's journey, which I have done before online, and it's a really powerful life changing course if you put your energy into it. So that's on my website. That's going to be available. I have some places still with that available through August, every Sunday in August at 6 p.m. European time, 12 noon East Coast time, US time. And stay tuned, because I'm getting so exciting stuff that I'm going to start focusing on now, because for me, I'm ready to start really living my life purpose, and there's so much I love to do. And my focus is never on I know more than you and let me teach you what you need to learn. It's always about just showing up, holding space, creating the intention, offering the inspiration, and always, always, always leading you back to your own inner power with your connection to infinite God source. So all my writing's about. That's what in the retreats that I do are about. That's what my, lessons and online courses are about. So, and I've had some really wonderful feedback. So I know that for those that really embrace it, it's a big catalyst for them. And this is a challenging time. So, and also when we come together in a group, it's beautiful, because the right people kind of seem to magnetize, and we're all sharing and becoming so much more than what we are just, trying to move through this, because we are the vanguard. We're the first ones that are doing this. We're the creators of this new reality. And That's exciting, but as you know, the unknown can be a little scary. I know everyone is feeling it. I'm feeling it too. So again, I all I can say is for me, my refuge is in infinite source, trusting it, meditating, although it has been intensive. I can meditate for like hours. I've had trouble just, just calming down enough because the energies are so, but the meditation, the grounding, the tuning in, and then learning to trust yourself. And of course, we have to get over all that history to create our story, because especially for the female, whenever we have listened and expressed our intuitive nature, we have paid for it dearly. We've been burned at the stake. We've been, all that, stoned and drowned and hung and all that just for being who we are. So we have to move through that because it is an illusion of fear. We have to trust that now is the time that we can come out, and be who we truly are. And the universe does have our back now. I mean, we are in a whole ascension cycle, and it's the meek will inherit the earth, the gentle, the divine feminine will inherit the earth. We are inheriting the earth now. So, move at your own pace. You don't have to force yourself. I saw I was just at the beach and I saw this lady trying to pull her dog in the water, as a pit bull. I said, I mean, it was her dog. She had the right of it, but I said, please don't do that. You're going to just destroy it. And I took her arm and said, would you like me to do that to you? So, we have to be loving with ourselves, give ourselves all the time we need. This is not a push. This is not a white knuckle. This is not, I'm going to make it through that. That is the old way. This is the, I love myself. This is going to be so exciting. I'm going to move at my own pace. I just started wearing pink. I think everyone is noticing that, and I just love it. I go everywhere and people remember me. People from all over Sicily remember me. Oh, I saw you on the other side of Sicily, Taormino, and I saw you at the restaurant the other night. People want to take pictures of me and Kiki because Kiki wears her tutu too. So if you see us on the channel, that's we're around on the Infinite Human channel here, dressed in pink, and Kiki's, become quite the star here. But I just had to do it. I bought everything pink and it feels so good to wear it. It puts me in a good mood, even though I might be like having an anxiety, panic attack. I still just get dressed up and put my pink on and go out there and people like applaud me and everything. But it might just start by putting a little pink or whatever, blue or, ribbon in your hair. It doesn't have to be huge, but you just feel your way into it. And you know what? It's going to get easier and easier and easier. And these energies, I feel like, are really pushing us. Because I was like, you know, many of you may be like me during lockdown. First I was like, oh my God, I'm locked down. And then I went, oh my God, I'm locked down. This is great. I don't have to be with people. I don't have to be in the 3D world anymore. And I was so happy. I was blissful. And I've been actually, God, I can't believe so much time has passed, but I've been here like 6 years already, just like in Sicily on the beach and just, having fun and being out there if I want to, not being, all on my own up here. But, I'm feeling this push to get out there. I'm feeling the push to move out into 3D Earth on my own terms, make space, not follow their rules, but break the rules, be the change, do it different, and you know what? People are loving it. Not everybody. And there'll always be those that, stare at you or try to, and I've had that for so long. But now I'm just becoming so much more sure of who I am and just really having fun with it and not having to fight people as much. I have a little bit of it, but if you can create your boundaries, if you can move with this regal respect, because you are the true magi, you are the true royalty, you are the guardians of this planet. And as you really own that, you start to embody that. It's like you move out and people love that. They want that. They want to cheer you on because they realize you're not doing it because you're like superior to them. You're doing that because you're expressing life. He's coughing over there. You're expressing beauty. You're expressing your true essence, and you're clearing the way for them too. And they really want that. I've noticed that people are really wanting that now because they know the world is crumbling around them and they are hungry, thirsty for a new way to be, and they want to see it. So have the courage to step out. And if anything I said resonates with you, please check out my website, infinitehuman.com, my YouTube channel, my books. Everything's out there to support you in this beautiful, beautiful journey that we're all on right now. So I will wind this up. Ciao for now. And
thank you for tuning in to today's episode of the Infinite Human Talk Show with your host, Elizabeth Monroy. We hope today's episode has inspired you to join the new consciousness renaissance and be the change by reclaiming your true divine infinite nature within and becoming an infinite human and a co-creator of the new infinite earth. Tune in next week for another empowering episode. Until then, have an infinite week.